I'm 27, juggling 5 kids in a cramped house that reeks of stale beer and unspoken lies, when I walk in on my husband snorting lines off the kitchen counter with some random woman draped over him like a cheap coat. My heart drops to my stomach, fists clench so tight my nails dig into my palms, and in that split second, rage replaces the fear that's held me captive for years. But instead of crumbling, I plotted. And what happened next? I turned his betrayal into my empire, leaving him destitute and desperate. This is the story of how I got my sweet, savage revenge. Hey there, I'm Emily, a 28-year-old single mom and budding entrepreneur living in Denver, Colorado. If you've ever felt trapped in a toxic relationship, underestimated by someone who swore they loved you, or yearned for that moment when karma finally bites back hard, this one's for you. Smash that like button if you're all about justice served cold, subscribe for more empowering real-life stories, and let's jump right in, because this tale from my own chaotic life might just inspire you to reclaim your power too. Alright, let's rewind to where it all started for me. I was just 18, fresh out of high school, full of that wide-eyed optimism that only youth can bring. Growing up in a small town in Colorado, life felt like an adventure waiting to happen. That's when I reconnected with Mark. We'd been friends for years, the kind who shared secrets under starry skies during summer camping trips. He came from money, old family wealth from mining or something. Think fancy cars, a sprawling house in the Rockies, the works. He swept me off my feet with promises of a life away from the ordinary. "Come live with me in the mountains," he said, his voice smooth as whiskey, eyes sparkling with what I mistook for genuine love. We eloped on a whim, moved into this stunning cabin nestled among pine trees, where the air smelled crisp and evergreen, and the mornings brought fog rolling down the peaks like a blanket. At first, it was a dream. We'd hike trails hand in hand, boots crunching on gravel, laughing about our future. He'd cook elaborate dinners on the wood stove, flames crackling warmly, and we'd sip wine by the fire, planning trips we'd never take. But cracks appeared fast, little things, his family dropping hints about keeping it in the bloodline, weird glances at gatherings. Then, one rainy afternoon, poring over old photo albums in the attic, dust motes dancing in the dim light, I found it. A family tree that linked us as second cousins. My stomach lurched, bile rising in my throat as the room spun. "This can't be real," I whispered to myself, fingers tracing the names, heart pounding like a drum. Betrayal hit like an avalanche, not just from him, but from the universe itself. How had we not known? Or worse, had he suspected? We divorced quick and quiet at 20, me walking away with a small settlement that felt like hush money. No big revenge there. Just shock, embarrassment flushing my cheeks hot every time I thought about it. I felt powerless, like life had played a cruel joke, leaving me questioning every relationship. But I picked up the pieces, moved back to Denver, vowing to never let anyone underestimate my worth again. Fast forward a few years. I was 22, trying to rebuild, working as a waitress in a bustling downtown diner where the sizzle of burgers and clatter of plates drowned out my doubts. That's when I met Tom, charming, older by a few years, with a grin that lit up the room and stories of his 3 kids from a previous marriage. He was a construction worker, rough hands calloused from labor, but he made me laugh, brought flowers stolen from neighbors' gardens. "You're the one who's gonna make everything right," he'd say, pulling me close, his breath warm on my neck. We married fast, too fast, and soon I was pregnant with our first, then another. 5 kids total, his 3 stepping in like a whirlwind of chaos and joy. Our home was a modest ranch-style house on the outskirts, with toys scattered like landmines, the fridge always humming, and laundry piling up like mountains. But the fairy tale shattered quick. Tom was an addict, cocaine and alcohol, a deadly duo he hid at first behind long workdays. I'd come home from shifts, feet aching, back sore, to find him passed out on the couch, empty bottles clinking underfoot, the sharp tang of booze hanging in the air. Just a rough day, babe, he'd mumble, eyes bloodshot, avoiding my gaze. He never lifted a finger around the house. No cooking, no cleaning, no bedtime stories for the kids. I'd scrub floors on my knees, soap suds burning my hands, while he lounged, barking orders. Stay home with the kids. That's your job. He'd snap if I mentioned grabbing coffee with friends, his voice laced with manipulation that twisted my gut. Emotional chains. He'd guilt me with tears. Don't you love us? Why do you need anyone else? Powerlessness settled in my bones like lead, making every step heavy. I'd lie awake at night, kids' soft breaths filling the room, staring at the ceiling cracks, thinking, is this all there is? Am I trapped forever? The disrespect escalated, gnawing at me like a persistent itch. He'd disappear for hours, phone off, coming back reeking of perfume that wasn't mine. Infidelity whispers, a lipstick stain on his collar, mysterious texts lighting up his screen. Who's that? I'd ask, voice trembling, heart racing. None of your business, he'd growl, face hardening, slamming doors that shook the walls. With 5 kids underfoot, diapers, tantrums, school runs, I felt underestimated, like a doormat he wiped his boots on. Betrayal deepened each time he'd promised to change, only to relapse harder. One night, after finding a baggie of white powder in his jacket, my hands shook as I flushed it, tears streaming, internal voice screaming, you deserve better. The kids deserve better, but fear held me. How will I survive alone? What if he takes the kids? Frustration built, a pressure cooker ready to explode. I'd clench my jaw so tight it ached, forcing smiles for the children while inside, rage simmered. The kids suffered too, his stepkids from before, plus our 2. I'd see their wide eyes during his rants, little bodies tense. He wasn't violent physically, thank God, but the emotional toll. Crushing. He'd manipulate me into isolation, no girls' nights, no hobbies. Your place is here, he'd say, smirking like he owned me. I started secretly saving tips from work, stashing cash in a coffee can under the sink, the clink of coins a small spark of hope. But the injustice peaked one evening. I came home early from a shift, the house dark except for a glow from the kitchen. Pushing the door open quietly, my sneakers silent on the linoleum, I froze. There he was, bent over the counter, snorting a line, while a woman, young, giggling, pressed against him, her hand on his back. The sharp inhale, the powder's faint chemical scent, her cheap perfume mixing with it. It hit me like a punch. My vision blurred with hot tears, chest tightening, breath shallow. What the hell? I whispered, but inside. This ends now. That was my turning point. No more. I slipped out unnoticed, drove around the block, parked under a streetlight, sobbing into the steering wheel, fists pounding the dash. He's ruined enough, I thought, determination igniting like a flame in the dark. Revenge brewed, not petty, but calculated. Justice for the years of lies, for the kids' stolen childhoods, for my shattered self-worth. I started planning that night. First, evidence. I snapped photos on my phone when he wasn't looking, drugs, texts from her, bank statements showing money blown on vices. Short, tense days followed. I'd act normal, heart-hammering, while consulting a lawyer in secret, her office smelling of coffee and files, her words stealing me. You can take him for everything. I filed for divorce quietly, citing addiction and infidelity, demanding full custody and support. But the real setup, I tipped off his boss anonymously about the drug use. Construction sites don't mix with coke. And for the cherry, I messaged his family, attaching proof of the affair, watching from afar as his world crumbled. Execution was swift, dramatic. Court papers served at work. I imagined his face paling as he read them, co-workers whispering. He called non-stop, voice frantic. Emily, please, we can fix this. But I ignored, steel in my spine. Long nights of preparation, packing boxes while kids slept, the rustle of tape echoing my resolve. This is for us, I'd tell myself, fears whispering but determination shouting louder. The climax hit in waves, each more satisfying than the last. First, the job loss. His boss fired him after a random drug test I knew would fail. The news rippling through our small circle like a shockwave. He showed up at the house that night, banging on the door, rain pouring down in sheets, his clothes soaked, face twisted in fury. You bitch, you did this, he yelled through the wood, fists thudding like thunder. I stood inside, peeking through the curtains, kids safe upstairs. My pulse racing but a smile creeping on. Shocked, check. Angry, absolutely. His voice cracking with humiliation as neighbors' lights flicked on. How could you expose me like this? He screamed, but I didn't open the door. Just called the cops, watching from the window as blue lights flashed, officers escorting him away, head hung low. In court, it sealed the deal. The judge, stern-faced under fluorescent lights, reviewed the evidence, photos, texts, his failed test. Irresponsible and unfit, she declared, gavel cracking like justice itself. I got full custody, the house, child support he'd struggled to pay without a job. His reaction, priceless. He sat there, suit rumpled, eyes wide in disbelief, mouth opening and closing like a fish. This isn't fair. He sputtered to his lawyer, but the humiliation was etched on his reddening face, sweat beading on his forehead. Humiliated in front of family who'd cut him off after my messages, angry rants in voicemails I saved for the record. But the true payoff, months later, as I launched my own cleaning business, born from those endless housework hours, now thriving with clients across Denver, he came crawling back. Broke, evicted, addiction unchecked, he showed up at my new office, a converted garage smelling of fresh polish and success. Emily, I need help, he begged, voice hoarse, eyes sunken, hands trembling. I've hit rock bottom. For old time's sake, I stood tall, business cards in hand, feeling the weight lift from my shoulders. You had your chance, I said calmly, triumph surging through me like adrenaline. Now watch me soar while you scrape by. His face crumpled, shock turning to defeat, shoulders slumping as he shuffled away. Relief flooded me, a deep exhale after years of holding my breath. Triumph tasted sweet, validation wrapping around me like a warm embrace. I wasn't powerless, I was powerful. The kids flourished, our home filled with laughter instead of tension. He faded into irrelevance, while I built a life he could only dream of. Revenue hitting 6 figures within a year, proving everyone wrong. Sweet revenge, earned through pain, delivered with precision. Phew. Looking back, this journey taught me that justice isn't always handed to you. Sometimes you have to forge it yourself. Karma might take its time, but when you stand up against betrayal and disrespect, the payoff is pure empowerment. Have you ever turned a heartbreak into a comeback? It's a reminder. Don't let anyone dim your light. What lessons have your toughest times taught you? If this story had you pumping your fist or wiping away a tear of solidarity, hit that like button to spread the empowerment vibe. Share in the comments. What's your most satisfying comeback after someone did you dirty? Did revenge feel as cathartic as mine? And don't forget, subscribe and ring the bell for more raw, real-life tales of resilience and triumph. You never know when the next story might be the push you need. Thanks for hanging with me. Stay fierce, and I'll catch you in the next one. Bye.